Welcome back to the channel. It is finally time to start pulling my garlic. Realistically, I should have pulled this weeks ago, but I have not had any time. The pig roast kind of took up a lot of my time getting ready for that, and now that it's over, I actually have time to get back into the garden. As you can see behind me, the zucchini is utterly out of control. There's zucchini everywhere, so I need to pull all that today. I also want to go around and kind of show you how everything is growing so far. And I also have to pull my garlic. So I got a lot of stuff to do today. I'm leaving for the East Coast tomorrow morning at 5. So I have only today, and I have to drop my kids off at camp today. So I really need to get going on this. Let's start with a tour of the garden and see how everything is growing. All right, so this is the kids' garden that they planted. And as you can see, they have not been down here checking their zucchini because this is out of control. There's a couple little small ones in here, but oh look, here's another one. Going through their garden, we've got 2 good zucchinis here. They've already pulled out a couple, and it looks like there's 3 more growing, good sized ones. This one honestly should probably come out because it's going to be huge by the time I get back. And I see they've got tons of cherry tomatoes. Their garden's doing pretty well. Over here is my herb garden, which has completely gotten out of control. As you can see, the top of the basil has turned to flower, which is, of course, not what I wanted. I've been so busy. I have really just been neglecting this a little bit. That's certainly starting to show with the tops of this basil. The parsley's doing all right. There's a couple weeds in here, not too bad. Rosemary's good, and oh, look at that. Got a cucumber. Oh my. Got 2 cucumbers. There's a couple other small ones in there starting, but they're not ready yet. So in here I've got my green peppers, and they're starting to come up pretty good now. They're pretty decent size, but again, I was late planting the garden this year, so they're kind of behind where they should be. They should be much bigger. I should be pulling peppers out of here to eat already, but I'm not. The weather also has not helped. It's been insanely hot, and we've gotten no rain. As you can see, the leaves on my plants are a little bit wilted. I have been watering them with the sprinkler and the hose every single day, but honestly, I can't keep up with how hot it is, so things are starting to wilt for sure. Yeah, I'll have to get the sprinkler back on them today because this doesn't look very good. It's been a very weird season so far this year, but the green peppers are growing. It's just looking like I probably won't get as many as I normally do. This bed over here is where I've got all my hot peppers, so my jalapenos. I've got 2 beds side by side, and I think that one over there is the banana peppers. But even this is like out of control. The plants are doing great as far as size and stuff, but the peppers are only just starting to come in now, and they're pretty small compared to last season. Again, I was late planting my garden this year, and the weather has really not been favorable for pretty much anything because we've been getting no rain. After I added compost to these, they kind of took off, which is great, but again, the peppers are only just starting to come in now. And as I was looking back on photos from last year of my garden, I was already processing pickled peppers. I was making cucumbers. I had already canned quite a few things. And honestly, I haven't canned anything out of the garden yet because it's so far behind. I'm hoping that over the next month, by the end of August, I have enough in here to do hot peppers to last us for the rest of the year. So I'm kind of hanging on to that. Weed wise, it's not doing too bad. Like there's a couple weeds in here, but nothing too bad, I guess. 2 more really big cucumbers. I really do not like to let my cucumbers get this big. I find they taste a little bit bitter once they've gotten to this size. It's the same with zucchini. They're really good when they're kind of like a medium size. This is a little bit big, so eating this plain or eating it with dip or in a salad, it's definitely going to taste bitter. I find the best thing to do with these is to turn them into pickles. So I usually do pickle spears or slices. You can't taste the bitterness of this once it's made into a pickle. So that's usually what I like to do when they get a little bit too big, which is probably what I'm going to do with these, though I really don't know when I'm going to have time to do that, considering I'm leaving tomorrow morning for a week. Over here are my cherry tomatoes, which, as you can see, are really just completely out of control. I did not prune these at all, and they are, well, they're a giant mess. I definitely do see some good orange ones in here. I only planted orange cherry tomatoes this year. There's no red ones, so I'm thinking I'll probably pull all these off, and then these can be part of my snacks that I eat tomorrow on the drive out east. Over here, I've got my banana peppers. As you can see, they're just starting to come in now. They're still a little bit too small. I'm not ready to pick these yet. There's a couple that might be okay to pick, but I'm gonna wait. Hopefully they continue to grow. There's tons more starting on here, and we do eat a lot of pickled banana peppers, so I'm hoping when I get back from the East Coast, I can pull all these off and then get a second round out of them. I think last year I did 10 or 15 liters of pickled jalapenos and banana peppers, and I've got about 4 left, so I definitely need more than this. This will not be enough to can as many as we eat throughout the whole year. Over here, I've got just some miscellaneous watermelon plant growing off the side here. Oh my gosh, I actually have a watermelon. So I've got a watermelon plant here that I just popped in the end of this bed of lettuce, and it's actually taking off quite well. It's doing really well. So I've got that here. Underneath my covers here, I've got lettuce, and I just stuck my head in there, and the lettuce has certainly bolted because it's been so hot. It was at the cusp of almost being ready, and then we had a couple really, really hot days, and the whole thing just kind of bolted out the top. So that is really not ideal. I did end up harvesting quite a few heads of lettuce out of there. Last Friday night when all my cousins were here before the pig roast actually started, there was about 25 of us here. I did make salad for dinner, so I did take out a few heads out of there. Salad was really good. We used cucumbers and stuff from the garden, and it was great. This won't get wasted even though it's bolted. I'll pull that out and bring it over to the chickens and the goats and now the pigs, now that I've got new pigs. So there's still some head lettuce at the end, which is still growing, so I'm going to leave that in there. I'll still be able to get a few heads off of that. But otherwise, everything over here is looking pretty good. My tomatoes are starting to come in. I see a couple in the bottom that are just starting to turn from green to yellow. So hopefully by the end of the week when I come back from my trip, these will be on their way to being ready to be picked. So carrots are coming in pretty well. So I did do succession planting with these. And as you can see, some are taller than the others. So this outside row I planted first, and I've got some good decent sized carrots in there. They've been thinned out, even though I know it doesn't look like it. They're just kind of growing together because they're in a raised bed and it's such a closed in space. The second round of planting that I did are the shorter ones here, so they'll be finished once these are already done. That's definitely something to consider when you're planting things like carrots or beans or peas or really anything that you plan on getting a second harvest from. If you plant everything at the same time, it's all going to be ready at the same time. And I don't know about you, but that's a lot of food to be eating all at once. So I'll plant one round of seeds and then plant the second a couple weeks later. That way you've got kind of a steady income of your vegetables. Once you pull the first ones, the second ones will be ready after that. So definitely something to keep in mind. Over here, I've got my leeks and they're doing pretty well. It's a little embarrassing how weedy it is in here, but I mean, as I said, I've kind of been neglecting this. My time has been directed elsewhere, and I'm kind of regretting that at this moment because I really should have been using it to focus on this, and I wasn't. And now because of that, you know, I'm behind on everything, which is a little disappointing. So, but it is what it is. The leeks are at least coming along. This is not something I did with succession planting. I kind of planted these all at once. I don't typically eat a lot of leeks fresh. This is more something that I cut up and I put in the freezer and I use in the winter for soup or stew or anything like that. Kind of like a rich, heartier meal. I use these instead of onions. So, I mean, I've got lots of time to grow these out, but they are doing pretty well. The green onions at the end are basically getting out of control, so I need to cut those down and do something with that. But otherwise, things are coming along in here. They're coming along. As you can see, my sunflowers have taken off finally. So these few here not only are they full of bees, but they got very tall. So these ones that have gotten really tall here, these are seeds that fell off the plants in the fall. So once the head had dried out, they were falling off into the ground, or birds were coming by and kind of picking at the head of the flower, knocking them onto the ground. And these guys kind of planted themselves, and it's worked out because they're looking pretty good. And I did throw some in the ground over here when I planted the garden, and they're just coming up now. If you've been watching my videos all season, then you know I did have a bit of an issue with chickens, birds, goats, rabbits, and all kinds of stuff coming in here and picking out the stuff that I already planted. So these are behind, but they are growing. They're certainly not going to get as tall as this, but they're still growing, still lots of space. I do find that the bees are in here all the time. I'm not sure if you can hear that right now, but all I can hear is bees buzzing in here. And there's definitely some on these flowers here, which is nice. So yeah, sunflowers are doing great. As you can see, my potatoes have seen better days. It is not going well in here this year. The potato bugs, they're just out of control, and I've tried so many different things and they're still coming back. Again, the heat and the lack of rain is not helping this situation at all. Everything is just looking sad and dry. I've definitely been watering these just the same as I have the rest of the garden, but I just can't keep up with how hot it is and the fact that we haven't had rain. It's rained once, I think, in the last 3.5 months. So yeah, it's not going well in here. I know that I'm still gonna get a harvest out of these potatoes, but it's probably just not gonna be a big one. I'm hoping I do get enough out of here to at least last us through the winter and get us to the spring. But I guess we'll find out. I mean, these are still in the ground for another, well, probably another 6 weeks. But right now, things are looking pretty grim in the potato patch. In other news though, my zucchini is just doing amazing. It's out of control a little bit, actually. There's zucchini everywhere, and I truly cannot keep up with the amount of zucchini coming out of the garden. I gotta pull these though because they're getting way too big, and I'm hoping if I just put them in the fridge, they'll be okay until I get home at the end of the week. Basically what I do with my zucchini is I shred them, I put them in the freezer, I use them for zucchini relish, muffins, bread. I like to make zucchini fritters. So shredding them is definitely the way to go for me. I do this every single year. I don't know what my problem is or why I do it, but every year I seem to plant enough zucchini for the entire neighborhood. Truthfully, I really only need 2 plants. Right here I've got about probably 20, so I don't know why I do that. But either way, here I am with all these zucchini, and it is definitely time to start pulling them out. I'm probably gonna need a wheelbarrow to bring them up to the house. Okay, as we can see, things got carried away with the zucchini. I mean, I still have at least this many left on there that are probably only about this big and not ready to be pulled. So when I get back on Friday, I'm probably gonna have at least this much more. I already got half of this amount inside, so I've got this whole pile, at least this much more on the plant, and half of this amount inside. So yeah, there'll be a lot of zucchini relish on the website coming up shortly. I don't know what I was thinking. Anyways, now that the zucchini's out of the garden and I've got the few cucumbers here, I'll pull the cherry tomatoes probably later tonight and pack those for driving snacks tomorrow. Now it is finally time to get on with the garlic. All right, it's time to get on to the main event, and the garlic is looking a wee bit sad right now, but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that when I pull it out, it still looks good. You'll know when it's time to pull your garlic because the tops of the leaves will start to turn brown. It'll look like the whole plant is dead, but it's not. This is the time when you're supposed to be pulling your garlic. I have obviously let mine go beyond where it should be. So I'm hoping it's still good inside. Usually you should be able to just pull them out. If I had planted these in a raised bed, I'd just be pulling them out by hand. But because I planted them in the ground here and it's been so dry, I'm gonna have to dig these up. If I pull them out, the roots on the bottom are gonna rip off, and I do not want the roots on the bottom to rip off. The reason you wanna keep the roots on the bottom is because once you rip that off, you've exposed the bottom of the clove to the outside air, then it will rot. And we don't want that. I wanna be able to hang these up and cure them and have them last over the winter. So I need to make sure that the whole garlic head stays intact, which is why I'm using a shovel. So let's go ahead and see what we got. Definitely doing this barefoot does not make sense. I think I need a shoe. Yes! Yes, look at that. That's perfect. It's a little small, but this is perfect. This is exactly what you want. You want to make sure that your roots are still on the bottom. Amazing. I think every single one I pull out is going to make me happy, even though this is smaller than the first one. I'm still happy that it's all intact, and yeah, this is great. Really happy about this. Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, look at that. That is a good one. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yes. Check it out. So here's what I meant about the ground being dry and not pulling it out just by hand. I went ahead and pulled this one out by hand for whatever reason, even though I know I shouldn't have done that. A couple of these other ones over here I was able to pull out by hand. I can tell when I grab onto it whether or not it's gonna come out. And even though I pulled on this one and was like, it's not gonna come out, I still went ahead and ripped it off anyway, but this is where the problem is now. So yes, I've got the roots on here, that's great. The bottom is not exposed, but I've now ripped the top. So this is one that's gonna have to get cleaned up and put in the fridge, and I'll probably use it to make something to take with us on our trip. But yeah, this is why you shouldn't. What a dud. I was expecting this to be so big because the stalk is so big. That is disappointing. What is that? Ah! That was dumb. Why did I do that? Oh yeah. That is a good one. Look at that. Frig! Stop doing that. Oh yeah, look at that. Absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. All right, so I'm about halfway done. Things are looking pretty good. I've broken 4, I think. Definitely my own fault because I should know better by now, especially after I just said don't pull them out like that if the ground is dry. And I went ahead and did it anyways. Anyways, I'm halfway through and I've got some good looking ones here. So I'm hoping that these are nice and big. I've got some pretty decent sized ones over there. The ones that I pull out that are kind of small, I just wrecked that one again. Like these little tiny ones, I'll probably just mince these up and put them in oil and put them in the fridge and use them just for cooking. The cloves on these are really tiny, and I'll probably just put them in the food processor and blend them up. I think that's what I'll do. But now I have to dig this one out because I just went ahead and broke that one off too. I forgot a garlic scape, as you can see. So this is what happens when you don't take your garlic scapes off. The top goes to seed. So it turns into a flower and then just turns into seed. So that was an accident. Whoopsie. All right, I'm down to the last corner in here and it is very weedy. So let's see what we got. These ones are all kind of small, but that's all right. There's the last one. This is actually a pretty good one. Happy with how that one turned out. So that's it. And let's go take a look at the pile of how much garlic I got. Before I head over to the garlic to show you what I got, I do want to talk about the soil here real quick. So as you can see, I've still got all my mulch on it from the fall. And if we're looking at the soil down here, it's actually pretty good. Weed-wise, it's not awful. It wasn't great, but it wasn't awful. So what I'm gonna do is till this up and I'm gonna get this ready because this is where my garlic is gonna go again next season. I do need to add some amendments to the soil before I do that, but because it's only the first week of August, in fact, I think it's August 2nd today. No, it's August 3rd today. So I can still plant a few things in here and do a fall garden, which is probably what I'm gonna do. I'll probably till this up, get it all ready, plant something when I get back at the end of the week, and then in the fall, around Thanksgiving, mid-October, that's when I'll replant my garlic in here. But overall, the soil looks pretty good. All right, so it might not look like it, but there's about 550 garlic in here. They range in size. There's some really tiny ones, and then there's also some medium-sized ones, and then there's some really big ones, but they're somewhere in the bottom of the pile. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I wasn't really sure what to expect just based on how the weather's been this year and the fact that last season when I planted all this, the chickens came by, pulled it all out. I had to replant it. They came by, pulled it all out again. And I was in a panic one day before we were leaving for the Santa Claus parade. And I just kind of was just shoving the garlic in the ground, hoping for the best, which is why it didn't really grow in very symmetrical straight lines. It was kind of all over the place. I do find garlic is fairly hard to weed because when I mulch everything in the fall to keep it covered over the winter, I end up leaving the mulch in the spring, which is fine, but I do find that the weeds still kind of come through it, and in my mind I'm like, oh, it's mulched, it'll be fine, and then next thing you know, the weeds are completely out of control and it's too late to fix it. Either way, I'm still happy with what I got. I've got more than enough garlic here to keep until next year's harvest, so this is good. I don't know that I'll plant some of these in the fall. I think I might keep all these. I'm not really sure. But if you do decide that you want to replant some of your own garlic in the fall, you want to make sure that you use your nicest looking bulbs. So you want the big, symmetrical, good looking heads of garlic because what you're planting is what you're going to grow. If I start planting all these little teeny tiny ones, that's pretty much what I'm going to get for my harvest. So you want to choose your good ones, and it's the same as when you're doing seed saving. So you want to choose your nicest looking cucumbers or tomatoes or whatever it is that you're saving the seeds from, because those ones are going to give you the best harvest next time. Now that I've got all this pulled out of the ground, I have to go drop the dogs off to my mom's house and then drop the kids off at camp. And when I come back home, I will pick this back up, tie it all up, and I will hang it up to cure while I'm gone on my trip. So I'll catch back up with you guys shortly. All right, so I made it home. The kids are now at camp. It is about 6 o'clock. Beth is on her way here now, and then we are gonna pack up and get ready so that we can leave first thing in the morning tomorrow. I have to tie up my garlic still, and I need to hang it up. I'm gonna be hanging it in the basement. I don't wanna hang it outside. It's still really humid out here, so so garlic should be in an area where it can get good ventilation, good air circulation, and it'll give it the ability to cure properly. This cat is super needy. It's a new cat my cousin brought down at the pig roast, and yeah, it's just very needy. It came with a bunch of babies and it prefers to hang it with me instead of these babies. Anyways, I've decided I'm gonna hang it in the basement, and the house should smell like garlic probably when I get home, but it is what it is. I don't really have any other places to put it, and I don't think it's supposed to rain while I'm gone, but I don't want to take the chance and hang it outside and then have it rain on it while I'm gone. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna grab a handful of garlic like that. I'm not gonna count them, just grab a handful. I'm gonna tie it up, and then I'll just hang them upside down, and I'll just let them cure. You can also use pallets, so if you want, you can poke your garlic through the pallet and just let it hang by the head of the garlic and let it cure like that. You can totally do that, that's fine. But I just find it easier to do it in a big handful like that and then just tie the whole thing up. Remember that if you do decide to tie it like this, that you want to tie it relatively tight, and that's because as the garlic dries out and cures, these stalks are going to shrink, and when it shrinks, it's going to keep space between the string and the stalk, which means it can all fall apart. So just make sure if you're doing it in a bundle that you tie it nice and tight. So just like that, and then I'll just hang it upside down in the basement. All right, so I'm just about finished. I've got probably 2 bundles of garlic left. Oh, there's that one with the scape I forgot to take off. All right, that's it. Time to bring them inside. If you've been following me on Instagram or YouTube for, well, at all, then you know December was the first time I actually had a furnace hooked up in this house. I've been in this house for 2 years, and December was the first time that I actually got a furnace hooked up. I didn't use it. I didn't turn it on. I mean, I turned it on to test it, but I did not use it over the winter at all. The house did get down to 9 degrees at some points. But anyways, the point is, I found a use for the furnace, and I'm using all the pipes to hang my garlic. So I'm confident that's not what the furnace is supposed to be used for, but that's what it's being used for here today. All right, so I finally got all the garlic pulled. It's all hanging up in the basement. The zucchini is out of the garden, and otherwise, that's pretty much it. When I get back, I should be able to harvest another whole round of zucchini. Not that I need it. And that's probably when I'll start making my pickles and my pickled peppers. I'll probably also start drying all my herbs by then. And yeah, it's time to start canning and preserving because we are getting into August and I need to start putting things on the shelf. That's it for this video though. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram @_livingdifferent. where you can stay up to date on what I'm doing all the time. I post on there multiple times a day, and Instagram always includes content that is different from YouTube. Don't forget to check out the website, www.living-different.com, where you can have a browse through all the products I have to offer on there. When you first log into the website, a little box will pop up and it'll ask you if you want to subscribe to a weekly newsletter. If you don't want to subscribe to a newsletter, that's totally fine. Just hit the X and it'll take you back to the website where you can browse as normal. That's it for this video though. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you on the East Coast. Bye.